The Buzz with Dion Spires. Featuring Debbie Prescott. And now, your host, Dion Spires.
Hello everyone and welcome to The Buzz. Today's episode is all about money and how to start making smart financial decisions. Our special guest is Debbie Prescott, the Polk Executive Director of Florida Prosperity Partnership. How are you doing today, Debbie?
Doing great.
Good. Good to have you here.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Tell me a little bit about what you do with the Florida Prosperity Partnership and who they are.
Well, the Florida Prosperity Partnership, first and foremost, is a statewide organization that helps in development, curriculum, and growing financial stability programs throughout the state. In 2013, the United Way of Central Florida here in Polk County had asked us to create a localized office to help lead the financial stability programs that they were focusing on that work on credentials in college for wage improvement, credit repair, household budgeting to create family and emergency savings. So those are their big hot topics right now, and that's what we're focused on.
Okay, so you're the perfect person to talk about what our subjects are today.
Absolutely.
Because we're talking all about saving money, credit, everything that college students really need to know that will continue to benefit them throughout their whole life.
Yes.
And I'm going to learn today because I don't have a lot of background on it. So
okay, let's do it.
I'm ready. So let's start off with the basics. Say that I have opened a checking and savings account in my bank, and they've given me my debit card that's linked to my checking account. How should I go about managing those accounts, and how often should I use the debit card versus credit or something like that?
Okay. Well, congratulations. You've opened a checking and a savings account, which is great. If you're a college student, you either possibly have a part-time job, or there is some money coming from home or somewhere that supplements your cost of living at college. So you want to have a little bit of money in savings at that point, but it's probably not as critical as managing those expenses that are coming out of your checking account. Because the anticipation of being a college student is that you don't have a lot of savings because you're getting just enough money to cover some of your expenses. So you want savings there to cover shortfalling or possibly a small short-time emergency, but not too much, maybe a couple $100s. Okay. We work with a figure of maybe $300 to $500 set aside in the event there is some crisis. So in the checking account, you want to be able to manage that balance because you don't want to run into overdrafts or fees. Yeah. So you need to know what the minimum requirement is for your account. A lot of times a checking account might have a minimum balance of $100 or $50, so you don't want to get into going too low and knowing the requirements. But you also want to make sure that you're not overspending, so you want to manage that money properly. Now, people are swipe happy in this day and age, and we're all guilty of it. So keeping track of what you actually spend is important. A lot of times your bank now has apps and different things that'll remind you to check your balance, or if you want to put settings in there that tell a college student, getting low, be careful. I recommend you definitely do that. But most of their expenses, they don't carry a lot of cash anymore, college students. And the most important thing about it is keeping track of the balance and keeping track of the card and making sure the card's secure. Yeah. I think those are the two most important things. They're not going to be paying a lot of online bill pay unless they're really paying their own rent somewhere. And that would be something where they would have to coordinate with possibly roommates, but making that online bill payment as a definite automatic payment, I would say, is probably the best way to handle it. And then knowing what their monthly budget is after that is probably another key point.
Yeah. Speaking of budget, that was my next question. All throughout college, I never really made a budget for myself. I kind of did just watch my checking account online and whatnot. That's how I managed my money.
Right.
But how important is it to have a budget, and how do you create one as a college student?
Well, I think you have to determine what your goals are. If your goals are to just make sure you get all your bills paid and have the amount of money you need each week for the things you like to do, whether it's Starbucks or going out to eat, or if you need to go to a movie or some recreation to get out of the dorms for a little while, figure out what is a comfortable spending level for you and possibly your parents if they're sending you or supplementing your income. I would say, depending on meal plans, not meal plans, it's going to vary dramatically. The most important thing, if you have a long-term goal, maybe you're setting money aside for spring break, maybe you're making some other maybe I want to make sure you give them a little bit of money to buy some holiday gifts, so that makes incurring the budget even more important. So, okay, I have $500 a month to spend on my personal expenses in college. I need to buy food, might have to put gas in my car, and I'm going to go out for a recreational event. So maybe I'll limit myself to $100 a week for those expenses. I have $100 I could possibly put aside for a bigger event like a spring break trip, and then I've actually planned out a good use for my money. And I could possibly end up traveling and enjoying a nice spring break at the same time.
Yeah, get a break from your studies and whatnot. That's really important.
But you got to take a few minutes and take a look at the big picture and then kind of make a plan.
Okay. Now, what are some simple day-to-day changes that you can make to decrease your spending and increase your income or how much money you are saving?
Well, I think the college student's biggest expense is probably eating out.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
And taking some time and figuring out if you have the ability and a location that you can cook for yourself, then that's a skill you should probably try and master because you'll save a lot of money. You'll probably eat a little better. And you might be able to and have some friends enjoy that time with you as well. The other big piece, obviously, is can you make your own coffee? Darn it. Starbucks is just robbing our college students of so much money. Yep. But coffee's a big expense. Is it the healthiest thing? But it's a reality, So trying to do some of that do-it-yourself type work, coming up with alternatives. I also think that, the other comment we're going to get to is can you supplement? Can you make a little bit more money to offset some of those costs? Can you run errands for someone? Can you do some of those little part-time things that help get with an extra cash for your college student?
It's funny that you brought up coffee because that's around the studio here. I'm guilty of spending too much money on coffee. I have had people come up to me specifically and say, you know how much money you would save if you didn't buy that every day? So that's instantly what comes to my mind about cutting out the little things. But it's easier said than done.
Absolutely.
So that's why I wanted to ask you about that.
Yeah.
Can you talk about some specific saving options for, say you are saving for a big thing, like you said, going on spring break or an apartment or something like that? How can someone go about saving a large amount of money for that over a period of time?
Well, the most effective way to save is automate it. And by that I mean if you do work outside of your school work, if you have a part-time job as a student, direct deposit. Can you split your direct deposit into 2 accounts? So that's the most top on the list, most effective way. So you take that money out of your hands before you ever touched it. If you don't have the ability of direct deposit or the ability to create 2 direct deposits really into checking and into savings, then as soon as you have your paycheck, split it. Don't just put it all in checking. Make the bank split it for you or make that transfer happen as soon as that money hits the account. So be really diligent about making that direct deposit or transfer as soon as the money goes in is the best way.
Yeah, and you can even set reminders on your phone every Friday or something like that too now because technology is always at our fingertips. That's what I've done, is just making that transfer every Friday when I'm paid. So
absolutely.
It's worked out for me. I've saved up a decent amount. So
excellent. And then some banks now, if you ask, some of them have products now that make it so that they do make that transfer automatically. And some of them you have to go into the bank and ask someone to get that money. So they've kind of given a little bit layer of resistance towards getting it to because they realize humans are humans and sometimes we need a little bit of a watchdog.
Yeah, well, there's plenty of options there then.
Absolutely.
We're going to take a quick break, but you guys stay tuned because we'll have plenty more with Debbie right after the break on The Buzz.
If I had $1 million, I'd probably buy a Ferrari. And then, sure. And then I'd buy my mom a red Mercedes. She's always wanted one. And then I'd save the rest.
The first thing I'll buy is a brand new guitar, and pay off like my parents' mortgages.
I would go to Europe, South America, Africa, Australia, anywhere and everywhere.
I think the first thing I would do with $1 million is actually pay off my student loans. I have so many student loans, and then the rest of it, I would probably donate it to the SPCA because I'm a huge animal person.
The first thing I'd do is probably, pay off my student loans. I would pay for my grandmother's cancer treatment, and the rest of it I would probably use to help my fellow Jamaicans come up, make it easier for them to get in school, track scholarships and whatnot, and get my country to step up.
I think I would save a good amount of it, donate some to charity, be a nice person, I guess. And then I would probably give some to my family as well. So.
Are there any dream purchases if you had that much money?
Oh gosh, I would love to live on the water. So get a house on the water probably in Florida because I'm from Maryland. But yeah, so.
I'd probably go on a really long holiday, like 5 or 6, 7 months. I'd probably buy my parents some stuff because they're spending a lot of money to get me to school. So I think I spend a lot of it like paying them back somehow. So a holiday, paying my parents back, and I don't know, doing fun stuff. I mean, it's $1 million. maybe I'll save some so I don't go broke again. But yeah, that's what I would do.
I would probably move to New York City and buy a really, really nice apartment for me and all of my closest friends.
It's beautiful.
I would probably do the same thing in Orlando, and who needs $1 million? So I'd probably give some of it away to people.
What would I do with $1 million? That's a question that's been asked to me before, and my answer has not changed. I would do my best to help those in need. I would definitely go towards charities or even missions work. I would probably try and partner with certain either churches or organizations that work with people that are in need, and I would do my best to help them. And you really doing that in front of the camera while I was answering?
I mean, so what I would do with $1 million is, first and foremost, I pay my mom's debt at her house, right? Then I'd buy all the sweet tea that Chick-fil-A sells.
That's good. That's good.
All of it.
That's good.
Because sweet tea is turned. And then with the rest of that money, I would probably buy, I'll get me a Ferrari for sure. But then after that, for sure, helping people in need.
Right.
But first
at
Ferrari.
At the very end. Not
at the
important.
end.
Cool.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the show. In case you're just tuning in, I'm here today with Debbie Prescott, the Polk Executive Director for Florida Prosperity Partnership, and she's given us lots of important information on how you can effectively manage your money. So Debbie, let's shift some gears right here because we've been talking a lot about the current college student.
Yes.
Let's shift to the student who maybe has just graduated.
Okay.
Why is it so important for them to start saving their money? Because they're maybe making a fixed income now with their new job. Why should they start focusing a lot on saving?
Well, the interesting part for the newly graduated, newly employed college student is they actually need to really focus on retirement. And it's like, retirement? I just started working. But time is money when it comes to retirement. The earlier you start and you start that savings process and that savings habit, the more money you'll have in the long run. Okay. So we really actually try and promote retirement savings as part of their thought process after they graduate to understand what that nest egg will look like down the road because the time value of money cannot be replaced. So it's an important piece.
That's so interesting that you say retirement because as a 22-year-old or 21-year-old, you don't even probably think about that. How should they go about saving that? Should it be in just a general savings account or should they open particularly like a retirement fund for themselves or what's the best way to do that?
Well, what's going to determine that is actually their employer. Okay. A lot of times if they're full-time with a larger company or even a small firm, depending on where they're headed professionally, there can be a lot of really good options where they start investing some money and then the company they work for will match a portion of that money. So that's really the best option. That would be first and foremost on the suggestion list. The second option is if you don't have a plan presented to you through your employer, would be to look at a private 401k. because you can open those accounts with very little money often, and they still work in the compound interest world, so you can really still earn decent return on your money versus just a standard savings account. Now, if you're really just getting started and you feel like you need a little bit of a lump sum to open that 401k, or you want to feel like you're building, then start with a general savings account. Start putting money aside every paycheck, and then, but don't stop. Transfer that into that retirement process, because you really want to get that compounding interest.
Okay.
That's the key.
So thinking more current, once immediately after you've graduated college, if I've graduated and I'm still living with mom and dad because I can't quite afford to get out on my own yet, but I'd like to, what are some questions or some steps that I should take to prepare myself to move out and start saving money for that?
Okay, well, you have to become more disciplined in order to make that happen, and you want to think about the amount of money it's going to take to move out. Okay, because there's a decent amount of money it takes to make that transition. Yeah. You have to have a security deposit mostly for your either utilities and the apartment you'll secure. You'll want to have possibly first and last month's rent. It can be a lot. And then you'll want to have a little bit of a nest egg in the event that, you have any type of shortfalling or you have any type of emergency. What if your car were to break down? Do you have anything set aside to cover that expense that wouldn't intercede with your rent and utilities? So coming up with a figure probably above about 2.5 to 3 months of your expenses in an account somewhere as a nest egg is probably what you want to shoot for to make that big move out of mom and dad's nest. So it's a decent amount of money, but if you're not paying mom and dad any rent or you're not contributing to the household expenses, you should be able to rack that up pretty quickly.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah.
And what a lot of people don't realize, I've noticed looking into places on my own, is that it's not just rent every month. There's a lot of other expenses that go with rent just to live somewhere.
Absolutely.
So what are some of the other payments that someone living in a new apartment may have to make on top of their rent, just to give them a peace of mind to know what they're going into?
Oh, well, I mean, some of the things that people don't think about are the cost of internet and cable. And students nowadays, especially our younger generation, definitely want their technology. They also have renter's insurance, and it's a piece of information a lot of them forget. But in the event something were to happen, they want their belongings and something to replace some of the content of their home that they're taking on now on their own. Yeah. So that's an important piece of information. And then little things, do you have all the household goods? Do you have furniture? Do you have pots, pans, dishes, all those things that it takes to make a home function? Do you need a roommate? And that's something that can help offset some of those expenses.
Absolutely.
So lots of thoughts need to go into that big step, because once you've signed a lease, legal contract, you have a big obligation.
Yeah. And another thing that is a big factor in getting an apartment, or any big purchase for that matter, is credit.
Oh, yes.
And as a college student, you may or may not know a lot about it, because I never had a credit card through college, but I know some of my friends did. Can you tell me briefly what exactly is credit and why it's so important in your life in and after college?
Sure. Well, the most common piece of credit that people talk about nowadays is called their FICO score.
Okay.
And that score is where people are rated based on on-time payments, the amount of money that they have the ability to spend in credit, the amount of money they have a history of being borrowed and paid back. So there's factors that go into that. College students get offered credit cards all the time. They'll sign up for one to get, and a t-shirt is handed to them. But what they don't realize is the obligation they've taken on if they start using that card.
Yeah.
So they can damage their credit before they even have credit if they don't use it wisely. So we always make sure a college student that takes on a credit card, we tell them, you really can't spend it for more money than you have coming in. You don't want to get yourself in a situation where you've incurred so much debt that it's going to become like a noose around your neck. It's going to really stifle your progress, especially when you graduate, because you're making $20 minimum payments on a balance that's accruing interest at 18%. you're not making any headway, and now you've left college with not only possibly student loan debt, but with your own personal credit card debt that could be upwards of thousands of dollars. And then if they don't pay on time, their credit score is damaged even further, because their on-time payment actually makes up over 35% of your credit score.
Oh, wow. And when is a good time to get your first credit card? Is it better to do it kind of like right before you graduate, or should you do it in the middle of your college time?
Well, it's a tough call. It's a personal decision. If someone is mature, disciplined, and understands what their commitment is by taking on credit, then they're ready. If people really aren't mature enough to manage it, I would say wait till after you have a full-time job and a full-time paycheck. Yeah. Credit is quick to build, but it is long to repair. It's a much slower process of fixing it than it is getting it. So things like creating an on-time payment record for a car is probably one of the safer moves. If you do start with, say, a small department store credit card, that's usually like a $500 max. Use it, but make on-time payments, pay it off in full, and develop that really good habit of showing that not only do you have available credit, that you've also made an on-time payment.
Okay. And talk a little bit about what are some responsible ways to use your first credit card. I know you said don't overspend, don't spend more than you have, but my mom, she tells me, get a credit card and use it for gas, pay it off right after, use it at a restaurant or something like that. So what are some reasonable purchases to make so that you're going to build some credit but not get yourself in trouble?
Well, I think purchasing a specific item like gas is a good idea. Something that has, in general, a monthly number to it. Most people tend to drive the same amount on most months.
Right.
The other thing is it for truly emergencies? I needed a set of tires. I can't get to work without them. And then you make those payments to get them paid off. Use it for what it's intended for. Sometimes it is really there for crisis, for if you have something that's beyond your financial means at that time, that is going to prohibit you from making it to work or making that commitment to a job. It can sometimes be clothing purchases. Clothing purchases that'll get you to that interview to land the big job.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but being mindful of probably the guideline we take, 30%. 30% of available credit can be used, paid off, and recycled to build credit. That's the magic number.
Cool. And you touched on the difference between good credit and bad credit a little bit. Are we able to briefly talk about how to repair bad credit if a college student finds themselves getting into that situation where they built up some debt and maybe they're not doing so hot?
We can, yeah. If it's on-time payment, then the most important, it'll take 1 year of on-time payments to recover from the damage of late payments.
Okay.
So that's why I said you can get into trouble fast, but it's going to take a long time to fix it. So if it's an on-time payment problem, we can get them structured and budgeted so that they're understanding what they need to do to fix it, but it'll take a year. There's no way around it. People will not trust them. Their score won't go back up until they see that on-time payment history.
Oh, man.
Now, if they're way overextended and they're not getting any jump on their debt, if they're too far into debt, then we really have to break down that budget really carefully and really manage how they're putting a little bit more towards that debt than those minimum payments to get a jump on it. Again, it's going to take time. So I suggest, on the front end, use it wisely, and then you're in much better shape. But typically, our students don't get into the bigger issues that are a little harder to sort out, like medical debt, unresolved medical claims, whether it be at an emergency room or something like that. That can cause a long-term credit damage. Okay. Foreclosures or legal issues that that can tie up your credit. Usually it's on-time payments and too much debt. So they can figure it out. It'll just take them about a year.
So while we're talking about paying back fees and whatnot, college loans are a big thing. That's probably what's going to get you in the most debt, let's be honest.
Absolutely.
What kind of different college loans are out there, and what should students be looking at as they're applying for loans and deciding what to take out?
Well, the first loan, if you need to take a loan, obviously if you don't have to, we don't want you to, but you want to go through the financial aid application process, because that process will take you to, if nothing else, your federally guaranteed student loan process. So, and that process is more secure and readily available to most students. Past that process of the federally guaranteed student loan, you would have to go possibly to a private student loan source at a bank, which is still going to be a full-out student loan, so you're not going to make payments while you're in school. You're not going to make payments until 6 months after you graduate or end classes, but it's not going to usually be as low an interest rate, and it's not going to have the same policies as your federal loan that you got through that FAFSA process. But you have to understand the terms of your loan. It's very important, and you have to understand what programs are out there to repay that loan, because right now we do have some forgiveness programs through our federal government if you decide to go into public service, whether it's through government work, whether it's through nonprofit work, teaching, things like that. There are programs out there that help student loan forgiveness, and if your career is headed that way, then you should look into those.
Okay, great. One more question for you, and then we're going to be out of time.
Sure.
But say that I'm going to the car dealership to get my first after college car, probably my first real reliable car, I should say. What are some questions that I should ask at the dealership as I'm, I guess, applying for that to get the approval to buy a car?
Okay. Well, you have two options, first and foremost, before you start the process. Is there an agency or an organization that you're affiliated with that you want to get a car loan estimate from? Whether it's your bank, your credit union, or your own personal affiliation. So you can go into a car purchase process possibly pre-approved by another lender. Okay. It gives you a little bit of leverage when talking to the car dealer, instead of them thinking that they're the only game in town that's going to work with you.
Right.
So I suggest working on a pre-approval from another source, even if you don't use it, to see what kind of options you have outside of the dealership. Now, if you've done that and you've got some information, or possibly you didn't get approved that way, now you're going to go to the dealership and they're going to explain to you what your options are. If you have an on-time payment history and some credit built up, then they're going to tell you their internal lending is going to be available to you from either that particular brand of car's credit line, or they have affiliated lenders, and they'll give you those options. The one thing you need to negotiate first and foremost in the car purchase process without talking about financing is just the bare bone basic price. Because car dealerships like to talk about the monthly payment, because then they just get you to a number you're happy with, and then they don't talk about the real cost of the car or the real level of the interest. Oh, you can afford $300 a month? We're just going to get you there. So knowing that you have to negotiate the actual cost of the car, and then understand what the interest rates, your options are based on credit are, and then you make your own informed decision of who you want to go with. But as far as lending and car loans, that's probably the two things I recommend the most.
All right. Well, that is all the time that we have today. But
wow, that went quick.
Thank you so much for being here with us, Debbie. You certainly taught me a lot of stuff that I didn't know.
Okay, well, wonderful. Great talking to you.
Thank you for joining us today. Don't forget, you can catch episodes of The Buzz on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 1 and 7 p.m. on PGTV, or check out our YouTube page. We'll see you next time.